Hey, this is Sig Taylor here coming to you from the Emerald Coast of Florida, where today I've got a very special guest, and that guest happens to be my mentor, who has taught me for over 25 years, his concepts, his principles, and his techniques that he used to build a successful business that I applied not only to my business, but I applied it to every area of my life. And I can tell you right now, it works. And I'll explain a little bit here in a second. But Larry Thompson, would you say hi?
Hey, listen, hi guys, how are you? Glad you're here. Looking forward to meeting you.
Look at that, man. You're looking kind of cool here with the long hair. I just got a haircut myself, Larry. So
listen, this is short hair. What are you talking?
Absolutely. So I'd like to start, Larry, a little bit about this because you really don't know my backstory on how much of an impact you really had on me. I mean, we've talked over the years. You know, Larry, thanks a lot for everything that you've done. But you know, really, it started for me when I was 30 years old, and you know, I had a successful business in Central California. I had about 30 employees, making good money. But I always said to myself, man, if I could just have $1 million, all my problems would be solved. And one of the things you taught me is that no. Don't ask for less problems. Ask for more solutions. And I went, wow, I'd never heard something like that. So I was about 30 and really got to the point where I just looked at God and I just said, you know, God, listen, hasn't been working my way. Let's try it your way. And it's almost like overnight something happened and things started to come together. I started a little home-based business. It was a little herbal company that I was with, but I didn't really understand things until I got a call, and that call was basically this great gentleman was coming to teach some people the things that he'd learned through his life, and that was you. And within a few days, I had a ticket going to Los Angeles, down there by LAX, and you had all your meetings down there. That was great. I remember that main road. And so I remember sitting there, and you seemed like you're 8 foot tall. I was way in the back, and I was there for one reason. How do I get rich? How do I get rich? And you said something that day that not only kept me coming back to gain, but I've been listening to you. I mean, I've burned cassette tapes out. I've burned DVDs out. And now you don't burn them out online, but I'm still listening to those. And you said something, and you said, it's almost like you were speaking to me. The room had, I don't know, a couple hundred people in it. But I felt like you were talking to me, and it just hit me right in my heart. And you said, Sig, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. You are who you are because you choose to be that way. And I'd never heard something like that. And it really had an impact on me, Larry. And you said some other great nuggets of wisdom that day that I just kind of jotted down, these little phrases. And one of them that I took to heart was, you know, I said to myself, how do I get started? It's almost like someone said, hey, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So at that point, I've been married to, you know, my lovely wife, Deidre, for a couple of years, and the marriage wasn't going so good. Now, it wasn't her fault. It was my fault. But I said to myself, okay, I'm going to start taking self-responsibility for not only my marriage, my business, but everything around me. And so I said, let's take the little steps. And I made a commitment to give Deidre a kiss in the morning before I left, and a kiss when I got home, just on the cheek, nothing huge, big, no super duper stuff. And I remember the first day I did that, and she goes, what's wrong? What did I do now? And I go, you didn't do nothing. You didn't do nothing. Just have a great day. And I went, oh my God, that worked. Then I went to my office, and instead of yelling good morning to all my employees, you know, and then going to my office, I said good morning to each and every individual one of them. And you could have heard a pin drop in that room. It's like, oh my God, what's he on? And it was those things that you taught me that enabled me to become the person I am today. Now, I'm never going to be perfect. We all know that. And, but I strive for that. And if somebody goes to my website at sigtaylor.com, you'll see it's honor, honesty, and integrity. Now, I strive for that. I've taught my kids that. I told my kids ever since they were little, hey, listen, God already knows you're going to be good or bad. You just don't know if you're going to be good or bad. So you might as well just focus on being good, okay? Because God already knows what you're going to do. Or daddy, you know, can I buy this? I said, absolutely. You can buy anything you want with your own money. Little things like that you've taught me, Larry. And I just, you know, wanted to take this time out to say thank you. By the way, we've got a great announcement at the end here. I'm so excited for this to announce this. But we go from 30, and now I am here, you know, 25 plus years later. And I've always wanted to kind of write a book about my experience, but I'm not the best reader in the world. I see things and I learn quicker from seeing things. And it's been said that when you do an activity over and over again, okay, that you actually, it becomes instilled in you a lot better than if you just read something. So I developed the Opportunities board game. Opportunities, what is your dream? And Larry, gave you one of the very first prototypes. And
yeah, you did. I appreciated that too.
Absolutely. And it's just my way of saying thank you, just a little way. And this game was designed for our space that we're in, you know, multi-level marketing. But what I found was that it's much greater than that. I've had people get back to me and say, my kids love playing this. I had an independent game reviewer that I sent it to, and she goes, this is great. I homeschool my kids. It's like an economics class. So, because one of the things I think we do lack is, and especially in our industry, you know, most people get in for the money, okay? Because they want an extra few $100s or a few $1,000s, or they just some people want to go for it. But you got to learn that financial literacy. And this game helps you with that. Just the basics, but it gets you thinking of things to do. So I just wanted to, again, say thank you, Larry, because it was that, you know, over 25 years ago that inspired me to build and put this board game together, which took about 24 months. And there's a whole nother story into that. So, but Larry, you've done this all your life. I mean, you're very well known in your space. Tell me something that somebody might not know about you, okay? Because you've helped thousands of people out there. I remember running across a guy in a financial forum, and he said something, and I go, hey, that's an LT quote, a Larry Thompson quote. He goes, oh yeah, he was an inspiration of my life. So you've helped people in just more than the multi-level marketing space.
Well, listen, I appreciate you bringing me on here. Listen, I'm excited about your game. And when we got the prototype, it must have been the way I opened it, because I couldn't get all the pieces. But I got to tell you, I like the idea, especially in this situation that people have been in sequestered here for a while. I think it's a great thing we like playing games with the kids. So I thought it was really cool that you came up with that. But I don't know what to tell you that people don't know about me. I'm pretty much an open book. Okay, and there's a whole lot of secrets in my life. You know, not means I haven't been perfect. I have not by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm still the basic same guy that started 52 years ago in the network marketing industry. It wasn't called network marketing or multi-level back then by any stretch of imagination. I hadn't even defined it just yet. But I came into a hotel meeting. I never forget it. It was at the Hyatt Hotel in San Jose, California. And first time I'd ever been in a hotel in my life. I'd never been to a hotel. I did construction work. I was a long-haired hippie construction worker with no education. I never finished high school. I quit high school at 16 to go to work in the construction field. I could tell you the color of your shoes, but not the color of your eyes. You know, I was really a shy person, hard worker, but a very, very shy, backwards person, limited vocabulary, etc. And I ended up at that meeting that night as a fluke, because Mike Fuller, the individual who invited me down, I was a last-ditch deal for him, because his sponsor came up from San Diego to the Bay Area and he said, I'm going to fill the room up. You can get rich off of me alone, that kind of deal. And at the last minute, everybody bailed on Mike. He had nobody. And I was the last person in the world that he wanted to come to that meeting, because I was the long-haired hippie construction worker. And, you know, it'd be like a homeless guy walking in today with a shopping cart in comparison. Okay, I was clean. I'm not talking what I'm saying, but in comparison. But I had two unique things happen that night that changed my life forever and ever and ever. And that was the person giving the meeting that night was Bobby Depugh. Now, Bobby was a former school teacher, and he had a great way of communication, of the way he communicated. And Bobby, in my opinion, is original strategist, tactician, okay, and individual in our space, okay. And so Bobby was giving a meeting that night, and I related with him because he's just a normal guy, okay? And that's something I've cared about me for over 52 years, just being a normal type of guy. It doesn't mean you can't be outrageous, but at the end of the day, we're all pretty much just the same no matter what. And so, but Bobby got me with a very interesting phrase at the end of the meeting. And what was also interesting to me, you could tell nobody wanted to be around me in that meeting. And it was like Bobby made a special effort to get closer to me, put his hand on the back of my chair, okay, and be right there, and like he was talking to me only. And I didn't realize it then, but that was so special. But he said at the end of the meeting, he says, as you guys can tell in this meeting room here, we're making a lot of money, and we are doing it. And he says, and I can't promise you that you're going to make the money that we're making. I can't do that at all because I really don't know. But I do know this: if it turns out for you 10%, what has turned out for me and my family, he said, it'd be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. And Sig, what was interesting about that is I took my default position. I gave away 90% and accepted 10. I could never think about the whole thing. I couldn't think about 50 or 60. I could, okay, 10%, 10%. And I just felt like that was enough for me to give it a try. And I was intrigued by that. And it never occurred to me to do anything except construction work. Never ever once crossed my mind until that meeting. And so Bobby giving that meeting was significant, but there was also a guest there that night that was looking at the business the same way I was and joined the same night, and that was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn joined the same company, same night, from the same presentation. And Jim had joined the company because Bobby wanted him to be the vice president of training, but Jim says, listen, I got to come in like everybody else and build an organization, and by doing that, then they'll accept me. And by the way, that was the last time he ever built an organization in his career was there. And he quickly became vice president. But here's what happened to me. They saw something in me that I never saw in myself. And it took me years to figure out that. And then it took me years later to figure out that, hey, I could do the same thing. But they saw desire, they saw willingness, they saw being teachable. And they saw themselves just every day. Bobby Depugh was just a regular guy. Jim Rohn was just a regular guy, okay? But these principles and concepts came into play in their lives and my life that said, hey, maybe if they can do it, maybe I can do it. And so for me to get influence and have Bobby and Jim pour into my life the way they did almost on a daily basis for about the next decade was pretty spectacular. And then for me to get to work with Bobby and Jim later on in my life as not only a mentor and mentee, but as a friend, and then as an associate, and then as an equal peer, and to the day they went home to be with the Lord, what an amazing thing for me. And you're talking about for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. That was the first thing I heard from Jim Rohn. My first training class in my life was Jim Rohn, and that's what got me to say, wait a minute. For things to change, I got to change. I thought my boss had to change. I thought my mother-in-law had to change. You know what I mean? But I had to change. Now, that's encouraging, empowering, and scary. Yes. Because the responsibility is at my feet. But because of that environment that I was in, I had that little bit of extra confidence that maybe I could make it work. And that led all the way through the end of the 60s to the 70s. So when we started Herbalife in 1980, and I'll forever be thankful to Mark Hughes for entrusting me with his family. His distributors of his family, they were his kids. And for him to entrust me for the first 13 years to be able to lead his kids and build the foundation for that dynasty that company's become it's a great honor, great privilege. But anyway, that's kind of quickly my background. And today do a lot of consulting work around the world. Got the new Millionaire Training book coming out, which is what the first. Anyways, some amazing things are happening, and just excited about working with people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to just, it was me going to God. Here's what I learned not too long ago when I had my downtime is that, I tried this without God. It didn't work very good. When I'm with God, it worked a lot better. And, you know, I was mentoring a young gentleman the other day, and I told him, and he was frustrated with his business and doing this. I said, listen, you have to draw near to God. And I'm actually going to quote right now, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. That's James 4:8. And there's a lot of truth to that. And he kind of got that. And I also told him, for things to change, you've got to change. And for things to get better, you have to get better. It's so important that we take self-responsibility. And Larry, I think you pounded that more than anybody I've ever heard. And I know how the influence that Jim was to you, and Bobby also. That's the same. You've been to so many people, and you're just getting ready to finish up something right now that you had just mentioned. And I don't know if anybody caught that, but tell us a little bit about that legacy book that you're writing right now.
Oh, listen, don't get me started on that, but here's kind of a mock-up cover of what it's going to be. But I got to be honest with you, say the Millionaire Training, I had no idea the impact it had on everybody's lives. And it was the first official training I did in Herbalife, and it was a last-minute decision even to tape it. And it was Mark's idea to call it the Millionaire Training, and he said, we need to tape this thing. And we didn't even, 40 years ago, how do you get something recorded? You know, it sounds foolish to me. How do you do that? And we finally found a guy that we could pay $150 to come and record this thing. And he rolled in his big machine on this trolley, and they had no way of connecting it up to the house system, to the microphone. So he duct taped a little bitty microphone to a chair in the center row. And that's how that Millionaire Training got recorded. And we ended up putting it in the distributor kit, so every new person that signed up at Herbalife got that training. I never did that training but one time. And then over the years, because it was in there and everybody was using it, and I'm talking about stuff that supports that and keep that message going. But and I was a little humbled and kind of embarrassed sometimes when I get around guys like you and Jeffrey Birdie and Jeff Weisberg dancing and all that group, and they're quoting the Millionaire Training by heart because they've studied it so much that they know it. It's part of their life. It isn't a book. It isn't a technique. It's a concept of living, like you mentioned. And I was always a little bit embarrassed by it, but it wasn't until Taylor, my wife, said, we've got to bring this book out. So what we did was two very unique things. Number one, we transcribed the exact word for word that came out of that recording. It's in here. It's got the gold mine attitude. It's got the bologna sandwich. It's got them Larry 1 to Larry 2. All of that stuff is in here just as it was, but it's in print, okay? But what we wanted to do with it was to show that this is not just about how to build a business, it's how to build a life, which that's what this is. Because it's what Bobby and Jim, for 13 years, they poured into me, and then that was what you saw with the Millionaire Training, what you got out of the Millionaire Training was Larry Thompson, what he became from their training. And that's what it is, and it's built the industry. So now then, what has happened is we have 15 different people that ended up in this book. When I say ended up in this book, I'm talking about their number ones. I think about 8 of them are number one in their companies. And I'm talking number ones, big companies. The rest of them are either top 10. They're lady truck drivers, they're beauticians, they're grocery checkers, they're mechanics. And their story is in this book, okay? And their stories in it, not their Lamborghini and bikini story about how that. Their story of how these principles, these concepts, this philosophy changed their life like it did for me, like it did for you. And they're giving homage to the information that's in the book. Yes, but it came to Larry Thompson. It's powerful. And in addition to that, Ron Henley, who's the official museum curator for network marketing, wrote the history of network marketing going back to the very first company called California Vitamin Company and how it came down and all of that. It's a fascinating story. So it has everybody's stories in here. It's their stories. Okay. It's a different, every voice in here, it's a different voice,
Absolutely.
But it's saying the same thing about how it affected their life and what took place and how the future of the network marketing business first of all, it's been built on these guys' shoulders, but what the future is. And what it's going to happen. And for those people that can identify and understand what we've been talking about, the gig economy, where there's over 60 million people looking for people right now to look for someone to show them how to make money. They can take these concepts and principles and now take it in a modern day technology delivery system and do wonders with it. So anyway, it's a longer story than you wanted to hear, but that's what's happening. It'll be out sometime in August, and we'll let everybody know as it comes out. It's going to be remarkable. It really is going to be life-changing.
Absolutely, and I will have that link and information below here in the video for everyone to go to. So the Opportunities board game currently is on Kickstarter, which is a campaign crowdfunding platform, which will be available on sigtaylor.com. And then again, I will be promoting Larry's because everybody needs to hear this voice on how many lives that he had an impact with. If you can see in the back, you know, Larry said, hey, God first, family second, and friends, business third. And I've applied that. So much so I put it into my home here. So I just want to say thank you very much. You've been a blessing to me and my family, more than you can ever imagine. And we have a lot of people to go out there and help. And that is how do you do it? Just like eating an elephant. We help them one person at a time. So Larry, thanks. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, listen, just thank you so much for having me on, and I'm anxious to get not the prototype, but the real book, and I've already the game, and I've already ordered it, so I can't wait for the Christmas holidays for us to start digging into it. Wonderful. That's kind of our Christmas traditions.
All right, thank you. Give my love to Taylor, okay?
Okay. All right, thanks. See you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.